doorbell at Jimmy's house. Now when you come to my house, my doorbell sounds like this.
Hey, welcome to People's Radio United monthly show. Why is my audio? Oh, there we go. Sorry, I had a problem with the audio. I'm Tim BestBudz. I'm here with Steve Shagwell and Team DenMom. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having us back.
Oh, thanks for being on. So yeah, let's as we always start off, we talk about the shows on People's Radio and what's happening. So yeah, pretty much the same stuff as before is going on with People's Radio. We're working on the People's network. It's still slow, but it's coming along. And like we say every time we do one of these, once it's up, if you can help fill in needed information for your areas, it would be greatly appreciated. And it should be up within a few weeks now. So keep a lookout for that. It'll be on peoplesradiounited.com. So let's talk about the shows. IFoughtTheLaw.net with Steve. Steve, what's going on with your show?
IFoughtTheLaw.info is...
Sorry.
I forget half the time too, bro. The show is 3 episodes in, and the last one was Alex Salazar, a former LAPD officer who
A total badass.
I like him. I really like him, because he went bad and did some really horrible shit, and he totally owns it, admits it, and tries to use it to fix a big problem that's going on, and that earns my ultimate respect. And he was a great guest to interview. And I think we're going to be looking at talking with more former law enforcement officers, because we spent 2 hours talking and barely scratched the surface on a lot of stuff. There's just so much there. It's really enlightening how toxic law enforcement culture actually is. And how it's almost like it's designed to create cops that do some really messed up shit. And I've maintained all along there are good people in that profession doing good things, and I'm not denying that, but the fact of the matter is a lot of really twisted shit is happening, and that interview really shed light on how the culture in law enforcement is creating a lot of that.
And if I may add, it actually has a tendency to penalize the people who are doing the good work. When somebody actually acts according to right ethics, a lot of times they take a hit for it, which is even more bullshitty than the rest of it, in my opinion,
Oh, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So that was a great interview, and I think talking with some more former law enforcement officers is going to be a thing. There's one out there who followed or liked a tweet about that episode, and he's a former cop, and he talks a lot about the war on drugs, and so I'm probably going to reach out to him, and I'm looking at some others.
Cool. Yeah, that was a really good show last time. So yeah, let's move on to my non-objective opinion. The last show I did was with author Pat O'Connor. It was our 3rd show we did about Kevin Cooper. For those of you who don't know, he's a man who was convicted of murder and is on death row right now. But it's very likely he was falsely convicted of murder. Yeah, it's a really good show, and you should try to look into the Kevin Cooper story and try to get involved to try to help out if you can, because he's really running out of time. So yeah, that's about it. We got this. We may have a mini series, a little short show coming soon, having to do with fascism. So we'll keep you updated on that as it gets closer. So yeah, now we have DenMom is going to tell us some things that are coming up this weekend for the Free Marty G and Free Matt DeHart movements. So if you want to go ahead and go through that real quick, DenMom.
Absolutely, because, as we say at Team DenMom, stand, speak, write, fight, rest, repeat. Like, there's so much we can all be doing. Everybody's got a role, and Twitter is such an easy way to stay involved with all of this stuff that is going on, all these people who have worked so hard and so tirelessly. There's always so much that we can do to support that, and just from the comfort of our own homes. So, upcoming this weekend, we've got human rights activist Martin Goatsfield is a pretrial inmate facing felony charges from Carmen Ortiz's office under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, the CFAA. That same office and act was relentlessly used against the internet's own boy, Aaron Swartz, until his death by suicide in 2013. Rest his soul. Marty is facing allegations that he conspired with members of hacktivist group Anonymous to organize an online sit-in at Boston Children's Hospital's public website to stop their torture and save Justina Peltier's life. So tomorrow from 4 to 10 p.m., there will be a Marty party, an online chat room to celebrate Marty and just have a great time. There's going to be a silent auction, including people doing dares, which you can pledge on, or you can offer to do one and get pledged on yourself. It's going to be a really good time, and all the money goes to supporting Marty through his incarceration. So Marty and his family thank you in advance for all of your efforts on his behalf, and you can follow hashtag FreeMartyG for more information. Also, coming up in 2 days, this Sunday the 19th, you can join a Twitter love army in a tweet storm from Matt DeHart, also presently incarcerated on federal charges for his internet activism. Please also remember to support his mother Leanne at LEANN02, who is tirelessly fighting for her son, and remember to use hashtag FreeMattDeHart for all related postings about that situation. So peep the People's Radio United Twitter feed for more information on both events and all kinds of further upcoming calls to action, because we don't want you just to listen in. You got to join the fun.
Wow, that was probably the most professional sounding thing we've had on People's Radio since it was created. Good. Wow. Very good.
Well, that's what happens when you get a producer to come in as a guest. We like to be organized, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, me and organization don't really mix too great. Yeah, so what do you guys want to talk about now? We were talking we should maybe talk about the stuff going on with the wiretaps and the tax returns and all that madness. I spelled wiretap with two P's, by the way.
It's just especially for a certain somebody that I don't feel like talking his name out loud, but yeah, just especially for him.
Well, I was pretty distressed to find out that all those times I had sex on the kitchen counter, the microwave's been spying on me and taping it. I hope that doesn't end up on the internet someday.
I really was wondering where that one Ethernet cable had got to, and then when I saw it jacked into my toaster, I got real scared, I gotta say.
Yeah, that was insane.
That's just not right. I just want to make toast, man. I don't need all that stuff I do around here to be seen.
I know, right?
Do you think she was serious? She says that she was just, being ridiculous and saying everything even a microwave or whatever, but do you think she was serious?
It's so hard to tell. I mean, anymore, it's just everything is such distraction propaganda that I don't know who's serious, who thinks they're serious, and who's just spouting nonsense to be loud and distracting from actual fucking news in the world.
Because Kellyanne Conway has said some equally stupid things that were supposedly serious. So it's hard. Yeah, you're right. It's hard to tell. It's impossible.
Like the Bowling Green massacre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still pray for the families of those victims.
I made a Avi overlay actually for that. To always remember to never forget actual alternate history.
Nice. Yeah, I saw the interview and I think she was serious at the time, but the whole thing is like this and so many other comments. It's telling because it means it's one of two things is going on. Either Trump's people are dead serious when they say all this wacky shit, or what's going on is they're saying all this wacky shit to distract from scandals and
Ding, ding,
such
ding.
going on. Either way, it's bad. Either way, it shows that the Trump administration is just, either batshit crazy or corrupt as hell, or I'm thinking both.
Yeah, I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive. And I think, just to chime in on that, like, the thing that alarms me the most is it's so easy to get distracted. It's so easy, especially in these incredibly stressful times. I mean, this is why we're talking about doing this Tenets of Fascism show, right? Like, there's a real reason for that. But, like, it's so easy to make the joke about, oh, yeah, tap with two Ps, ah, ha, ha, so funny. Like, but who hasn't made a typo at the same time? And, it is distracting. It is distracting when we're talking about the nonsense about microwaves and everything, and instead of talking about what's going on under the surface when, even if they're just fucking just the craziest motherfuckers that ever were crazy, there's still a whole Congress out there undermining everything, and some people need their Meals on Wheels, which apparently is not going to be a thing so much anymore. Like, people need services that are being undermined every single day when we're not talking about that because we're talking about typos and microwaves. I mean, it's scary. It's scary how easy it is to just flood the system with this nonsense. Whether it's insanity or on purpose hardly even matters when the effect is the same.
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is for distraction, but it's hard to tell what's what. Like right now, I think it was today or yesterday, he went further and said not just Obama's wiretapping him, it was the UK as well.
He did what?
Yeah, I was reading that.
But they did it so politely, because they're no.
I shouldn't even be surprised. I shouldn't. Just
so
calm down, Steve. This is Trump. This is supposed to happen. Just relax, Steve.
Well, I see two options. Either he's doing it, well, maybe three options. He's either just crazy, which is a possibility, or he's doing it to distract from something, and that something might be that that one of our agencies are actually investigating him, and he knows it, and they're getting closer, and he's worried, so he's trying to, throw up all kinds of doubt and just kind of try to discredit people before it happens. I'm not sure.
Well, I definitely see him and his administration digging in. They're getting ready. They know that there is going to, at the very least, be an investigation and media circus on the level of what we have with Bill Clinton and the Monica Lewinsky thing. Like, that's coming, and he knows it. Like, that's his best case scenario. So, yeah, trying to keep us off that and trying to, gaslight and that sort of thing is definitely going to happen, and is happening.
Here's the thing about that, though. It always happens. Whether it's by intent or just taking advantage of a situation. This is governance in this country. I mean, we spent years of our lives debating, is George Bush an idiot, or is he just, like, pretending to be an idiot so that we don't spend too much time worrying about the policies because he said something stupid and made up a word again. Well, I make up words all the time, and I'm pretty smart, but, like, people will think I'm an idiot sometimes, and they'll get distracted from my message. But meanwhile, I am doing the serious work that I'm doing, and sometimes that does get lost under the goofiness, right? Meanwhile, you've got, during the Obama administration, there was a whole thing with sequestration, and that was such big news. So much talk about the sequestration. Well, what happens during that is the Monsanto bill gets passed, and whether you agree with it or disagree with it, a lot of people that voted for that man, his base, were very disapproving of that bill, and it just went right under the radar because that's not what the conversation at that time was. So this is just how the system is built to work or not work for us, as the case may be, but that's how it works for itself.
Right.
Yeah. That's true. It just seems like everything is used for some kind of distraction because, he's signing these executive orders. They're taking health care from, what do they say, 25 million people within so many years, maybe more. They're robbing the country blind. And then they release 2005 tax returns and make it a big deal. on
Yeah,
the
but
news.
it was just
like
the 1040. Like
yeah,
was
it was like 2
basic,
pages. And they made it like some big deal, and it was like one of those gamer videos when when you want to see something about a video game, and the guy talks for 2 minutes about, I want 100 likes, subscribe here, and he really doesn't say anything about the game, and it's a big letdown, like clickbait basically.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are saying those tax returns were probably leaked by Trump or his people. So
when I heard the tax returns were coming out, like that was my first thought was. This is going to be something that shows that there wasn't a problem in 2005, so we shouldn't look at all the others because obviously everything's legit from every year.
Yeah.
And of course, it turned out to be even more profoundly an insult to the American people's intelligence than I predicted. And it's just the 1040. It's 2 sheets that tell us nothing.
Yeah, because as a self-employed person, let me just say this: as a self-employed person, the important part of your tax return is not the 1040. That's just where you do your summary, and that's the rest of just where your last line items all synchronize. The important stuff is your itemized deductions. How much self-employment tax did you pay? A lot of the tax that he paid there would have been his self-employment, his personal tax that he can't avoid owing. Because if you're your own boss, then you have to pay into Social Security, all that stuff that your boss would normally take out of your taxes for you. So you want to know, like, what tax credits did he apply? What deductions did he take? And what receipts are attached to those? That my taxes, as like the tiniest business in the world, are like 8 pages long. So his have got to be folios full. And that's the important content.
Yeah,
Well, here's the other thing. I'd seen a report, I believe it was last night or maybe early this morning, that 2005 was also the year that his wife applied for citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to do that, they needed his tax information, and he knew they were going to need it. So he probably had all his ducks in line for that 1 year for that very purpose. And the report was saying it doesn't necessarily mean everything's going to be legit before or after that, because that was a 1 year where they had to be legit.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons he might have had that 1 year released. It makes no sense to me. Like, does he think we're just stupid or,
Well, my thing on it is I don't want to hear another one of Trump's cop-loving supporters say, if you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't be concerned. Because guess what? Until your president, not mine, your president shows his tax returns, that argument means nothing to me. Go away.
Yeah, but now you're trying to reason with unreason, and that's always going to end in failure.
Yeah, that's true. It's different because he's a billionaire, and that makes everything okay.
Yeah, what's different about being a billionaire is that you have, all these tax loopholes and subsidies and this and that, the credits that, somebody who's actually making a reasonable, barely living wage would never qualify for, Also, don't forget, corporations are people, and you can hide any number of amounts of money in corporations. And that's what he's known for. He became president and started 18 more corporations in the first 2 days or some crap. Oh my God, regular folks can't do this. You can't afford it. Just the cost of incorporation. You can't afford it.
Yeah. Well, there's also the thing of where there's just this mentality that billionaires should be able to know our business, and we should be able to know their business. And it blows my mind that people who talk about how Trump is for the common people, and they voted for Trump because they want the common man, the common American, to have a voice. These same people are saying, the president has a right to know all of our business, but we don't have a right to know his business. It's like, shut the fuck up and go home. I'm so sick of the hypocrisy coming out of that quarter. It's just it's relentless, and you can point that out to them and they don't even see it.
But
what
it's
really
always
actually
like that.
strikes me as
Go ahead.
sorry. Oh, I was going to say that it strikes me as so odd because essentially, like, we're talking about, yet another politician who made his bones in more like the celebrity status, right? Both in business, quote unquote, but also then with television and what have you. And so celebrity in this country is such a peculiar thing where it's like, we don't have royalty or whatever. We got our movie stars and they have no privacy, right? They got the paparazzi all up in their business, and it's like you can't sneeze without everybody going like, does Jennifer Lawrence have a cold? And so here we're like fascinated by a change of socks or a possible new romance or whatever by any like normal celebrity. And here's this person who has this intense celebrity and is now the president. And it's like, no, he should have his privacy. He should be able to go behind closed doors like a normal person. It's like, when have you ever said that? Like, do you not remember the last time somebody's like sex tape or nudes dropped or whatever? And we didn't care about their privacy then, did we? You just wanted to see the boobs. Woo,
Yeah, but
titties! Taxes. We like titties more than taxes in this country. That's really what it comes down to. Because, they're easier to understand. I don't know.
Yeah, but the thing is, you got these people that are like whack jobs, I think, and they're in every group. Like, you had them with Bush, had them with Clinton, had them with Obama. Like, the person could do no wrong. They won't see any of the fascist, evil war crimes these people commit. They're just like, our guy's great. He's great. I mean, there's people right now, I look on my Twitter feed, say, bring Obama back. I want Obama back. And I'm like, why would you want any fascists back? Why wouldn't, if you have to have a president, you need this ruler, then why not have somebody that has your best interest in mind? Why do you want, But the thing about it is, Obama, even his fans weren't like horrible people. They were just regular people that believe some BS. Trump's fans, his main fan base, the diehards that won't, like that, they're despicable, racist people. And that's why it's even more sickening, because they're duped just like Obama or Bush's people, but these people are just scum of the earth. They're like the bottom of the barrel. So that's like, I think, the difference.
Yeah, and it emboldens. I mean, we talked about this last week quite a lot, but like it just like emboldens people to like come out of their smarmy little closets with their shit, where it's like, oh, for most of my life I couldn't say this stuff out loud, but this guy, he says it like he means it, and I'm gonna say what's been on my mind, and by the way, I'm a total Nazi. Like, oh, well, that's good to know now. I guess we should have all guessed from the way you thought, but it's crazy, just this amount of just vitriol and disgusting crap that follows from the logic of like the quote unquote logic of yeah, he's a man of the people, but apparently the people are awful.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, anybody who does not see the connection between Trump and all the shit he says and the attitude he takes, if anybody doesn't see the connection between that and all the Nazis coming out of the closet at the same time, I shit you not, I have a manual on ethnic cleansing operations that they're passing around. I had to see, are you kidding me? Oh my
God.
Are you kidding me? And I looked at it, and no, they're not kidding me. I mean, it's and this is just like going around. And man, I'm so sick of this tolerance of Nazis too, because if you're passing around ethnic cleansing manuals, you might as well be ISIS. Why is ethnic cleansing okay by Nazis, but not okay by ISIS? And Donald Trump is the man who could stop this Nazi revival. Like tomorrow, all he has to do is stand up and say, you know what? I do not like Nazis. Nazis are awful. I'm going to put them on a hate group list, and I don't want Nazis supporting me. He could just come out and say that, and that would put so much of it to an end, and he won't. And people think...
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, and people think, but people think there's not a connection between Trump and Nazis. At the very least, if it's not his doing, he could stop it tomorrow, and he doesn't.
The thing is, too, is that you could even just go with like the standard like politician line kind of thing, like that, taking the still asinine but neutral platform. Like I remember when there was like the David Duke endorsement, right, during the election campaign, and I was going like, I can't believe he didn't just say, well, I'm not going to say that I support this man. I mean, I'll take the votes, but that's not where I'm at. There's plenty of politically savvy ways to deflect something like that when you get commended in some way from an angle that you're not actually, it's not your platform. Any seasoned politician is sly enough to wrangle around those things and deflect the talking point back to their talking point. And he didn't. He just sort of stumbled through it like, yeah, whatever, fucking, I don't know about Nazis. There's no Nazis anymore. It's like, really? Because one just endorsed you.
But that's his base, though. You can't trash your base. That's the difference.
Well,
I mean,
that is the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difference right there. If they weren't the people that put him in power, I could see him denouncing them to an extent, even if he believed in them, just to not look like a scum. But he doesn't, because that's his base. If he disses them, what does he have? He has nobody that supports him, beside maybe some 70 or 80-year-old Fox viewers.
Well, I actually keep a very diverse group of friends, and they come from all walks of life. They come from all religious beliefs. They come from all political beliefs. And I can tell you, there are some very rational people out there who are not down with Nazi shit that voted for Trump, maybe because he wasn't Hillary, or maybe because they like this idea of bringing jobs back to the U.S., manufacturing jobs. I mean, there are some reasons to vote for Trump to a person who's not as eyes open to how shit really is as we are. There's some logical, sensible, rational reasons to vote for Trump. But
if you just look at the talking points, absolutely, because when you're making good noises into the air, like, yeah, I want to have jobs and I want to this and that, like, that's going to sound good to a lot of people, right? Like, if you don't look too deeply at whether or not that's actually possible, like whether coal's ever going to come back, then sure, jobs, great, everybody needs jobs.
Yeah, exactly. But the whole thing is so there's those people who voted for him, and I don't want to demonize those people, because they had their reasons that I don't object to for voting for him. But those people should even acknowledge Nazis love this guy. Go on Stormfront, see who they're talking about. They're talking about Donald Trump and how Donald Trump is going to make them great again.
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah, but the other people, Steve, I don't think are his main base. Like, there's some people that just said, "Oh, Hillary's evil. I'm gonna throw my vote the other way just to screw her over." Which, I mean, she was evil, but evil versus evil is still evil. But I think his main base, like the ones that go to his rallies and go crazy and he can do no wrong, those are the ones that are just horrible. I mean, the ones that call themselves deplorables because they actually are.
They're either Nazis or Nazi sympathizers.
Exactly.
And I would agree with that. I think that Steve's point makes a great deal of sense and really can't be forgotten, though, because when it comes down to it, when you look at any kind of like just demographic breakdown, the main base that's going to be the most vocal isn't necessarily a majority or even a plurality of the people who cast their vote. They're definitely the loudest voices in the mix, but the rest of those people who place that vote have to acknowledge that they're the loudest voices in the mix, even if they have the grand majority of the votes. That's, I think, a very important point, because you may have voted on a fiscal policy or something else just because you don't like Clinton or whatever, but not be a Nazi. But remember, it's those motherfuckers who are just the most literally saying Heil Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have said that. There's video. You can't deny
it. and the guy who started that got socked in the face, viral on the internet, and I love it.
I have a problem with that, and here's my problem. we shouldn't be punching Nazis. We should be killing them like our grandfathers did.
I agree.
I love you, Steve. Oh.
I mean, I'm sorry. I tried because free will and freedom of expression and freedom of speech is so important to me. I did struggle with this issue for a while, but after I read that ethnic cleansing manual, no, fuck Nazis, kill them all.
Can you share that to me, by the way, Steve, when you got a second? I mean, I need more horror in my life, but I do want to actually see this horrific thing.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Yeah, thank you.
Know? So.
Yeah, these people are sick.
Yeah. Oh, and the thing that is also really very sickening to me, like if we're just staying on this topic for a second, is like the media encoding in the mainstream, where it's just like, why can't we just call a spade anymore? Like, that very punchable Nazi is the one who helped, coin and popularize the idea of the quote-unquote alt-right. And it's like, there's no such thing as an alt-right. You're just that far right, but you're wrong. You're so fucking wrong because you're a Nazi. And there is no Nazi light. I've said that. I'll keep saying it. There is no such thing as Nazi light. You can't say you're, for like ethnic purity or whatever without being suggesting that whether you're going to do it or not, that maybe somebody should really do something about some eugenics, or maybe somebody should really start a genocide. Like maybe that would be a great way to just like purify whatever your idea of purity is. It just, there's no ethno-nationalism. There's no, white isn't a nationality. You're a Nazi. And the media is going with it, and it's horrifying because when it's just like, we're just going to tone it down, we're going to put on our nice little Midwestern voices, and we're going to tone it down so that everything sounds like the news, and then here we're going to have this person on to talk about their horrible views, but it's okay because we're going to call them the alt-right, and here we are talking about the alt-right and ethno-nationalism. No! You're having a Nazi on to talk about Nazi things!
Yeah, but it has to do with their backers. I mean, Nazis... Well, let's just say fascists have run this country for a long, long time. And now we have more literal fascists that could be called Nazis running it. And what are they doing? They're robbing the country blind to fill the pockets of these rich corporate people who are also fascists and want to take our rights and are white supremacists in most cases. So...
Yeah.
Or just misappropriating funds, like, I mean, this is like the biggest complaint I have right now, financially speaking, with, our fucking asshole in chief, is the fact that he's spending huge amounts of federal money to, quote unquote, go do his work at a satellite office that isn't an office. It's a business. It's his business. Everywhere his kids go, everywhere his wife is, everywhere anybody attached in the loosest possible way to him, his business, or his family has to have Secret Service protection wherever they go. And it's costing a fortune. I mean, it's costing an absolute fortune that could be going to the actual people that this government is supposed to be governing and watching out for and doesn't give a shit about, apparently.
You'd be surprised how many people I see when I say something like everyone should get health care. We pay our taxes, we should all get health care. They always jump in like, you don't understand economics. That's communism you want. That's this and that, And how do you propose pay for that? Well, how about we don't start... Well, how about we defund a lot of this military, since we have the biggest, giantest, most disgusting military in the world. We stop militarizing our police. We stop funding Israel. I give them all these reasons, and they always, that's horrible. That's this and that. I mean, these people are crazy.
But apparently we need this giant military because, now, like, as of this morning, the Trump administration is refusing to negotiate with North Korea on nukes. So, they're talking preemptive actions. Got to have that military if we're going to be preemptively attacking people, right? Assholes or not, but fuck, man.
These people who say, government or, healthcare for everybody is communism, spending our taxes on that's communism. Let me break this down into a language, if any of those people are listening, that those people would understand. It was communism when they taxed us. It was already that. So what do you want for that? Do you want militarized police who are free to kick in your door because they don't like you and they can say they thought you had weed? Or do you want insurance? Do you want health care?
I think it's even simpler than that. A lot of the same people who are opposed to universal health care are the same people who are saying that they're terrified that by the time they get another 10 years on or whatever and they're ready to retire, that there's not going to be enough in the Social Security that they paid into in their taxes every time they paid taxes to cover their retirement, right? That their pension essentially will be non-existent. It's like, well, how about let's talk about, do you want to live to that 10-year mark? Do you and everyone you know have the ability to live another 10 years if you get cancer tomorrow? If you're diagnosed with cancer tomorrow and you cannot afford your treatments, you will not live to see Social Security whether it exists or not. You will not be on Medicare whether it exists or not. So, like, Medicare for all would guarantee that people will live to actually see their Social Security.
Yeah, I don't understand how that's not just a human right we should have.
Well, yeah, it's like I don't want government, and of course, if there wasn't government, there would be no free healthcare for everybody, unless people came together and there was like a co-op kind of thing, which I think would be pretty awesome. But if we have to have government and we have to pay taxes, I want healthcare. I want that. I want to not be sweating that. I want to know that if I cross the street at a green light and a car hits me, and that driver doesn't have insurance, I want to know that I don't have to choose between, being able to get the care I need to live, or, selling everything I own, which isn't much, but
Well, this is the thing. If in a world where there are taxes, where we pay taxes when we shop at the store, where we pay taxes if you happen to be lucky enough to be a homeowner, if you pay taxes because you make an income, right? There's taxes left, right, and center that go to local, state, and federal governments that therefore are supposed to be distributed equitably and fairly to support infrastructure, programs, etc., that benefit the people who've paid those taxes. That's what that money is for. You're paying into a system that is supposed to support you, right? That's what a quote-unquote Republican or Democratic government is supposed to do. So when we're looking at roads that are falling apart, bridges collapsing, an education system that is just completely failing to educate and is continuing to produce more and more uneducated voters, which goes to, again, supporting the system and not the people the system is supposed to support. No health care, so we're dying. We're paying for plenty of incarceration, though, so that's great. We're covering that angle. With the school to prison pipeline. No graduation, but you'll go straight to juvie and then off to jail. Like all these taxes. If this is the system, that's how they're supposed to work. Is they're supposed to be funneled back at the constituency, the people who pay them and do the voting.
Yeah, education too. I mean, I think everything should be free for people. Like these are things people should. Imagine if everyone had access to free education. Imagine where this country could be technologically. And I mean, you think we're somewhere now. Imagine a whole country full of really educated people that aren't living in debt, struggling to survive. That's
and imagine
power.
If that covered not just public education through high school, which it supposedly does, even though it's vastly underfunded. But imagine not just higher education in college, but I'm talking about trades and things, because again, infrastructure is a real thing. The world needs plumbers and bridge builders and all of this, and in this country we devalue that. So in a world that has all of these taxes, there should be no excuse for not funding education that actually goes to helping people to sustain a living wage, continue to pay their taxes into that system, and build a world where we don't have to worry about a bridge falling out from under us and going to a hospital that we can't afford and don't understand the paperwork on because we can barely read.
Yep.
Agreed.
That should never have to be a consideration.
Yeah, that brings
very
up
well said.
Another subject. I know we're going to get into the tips for protesting in a couple minutes, and that'll probably end the show out. But Steve brought up something where he was saying that Republicans say they're for small government not being invasive into people's lives, yet they tend to promote big government and prying into everything of everybody's life. They use the family values thing, all this stuff to try to, every aspect of your life they want to control. Whether it be who you're going to marry, what you're spending money on, who you're calling, who you're talking to.
What I can or cannot do with my lady bits?
Yeah, everything. Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. Why do you...
Yeah.
Go on, Steve, because this was one of the subjects you wanted to bring up.
Well, okay, so, I'm going to take advantage to point out the hypocrisy of an individual. I hate is a strong word that I try to avoid, but I fucking hate this man, Sean Hannity. He said, the Republican Party is the leave me alone party. I'll mind my business and you mind your business, and I just want people to leave me alone, he says. And then the Republican Party is all about who you can marry. It's about what kind of religion you can be a part of and can't be a part of. It's about what you can put in your body, whether or not you can use drugs. And basically, if conservatism is truly about minding your own business and leaving people alone, which is an awesome idea, like if conservatism was actually about that, I would be about that. But conservatism is not about that. And the Republican Party is especially not about that. Republicans are not about that. And Trump, this whole talk about, you can be an American and you can be like, take responsibility for your own life. Well, I guess you can take responsibility for your own life. Like, you're not going to get any help from the government. Okay, but you know what the government is going to give you? It's going to give you a bunch of rules about, I don't get homosexuality. I don't get the whole transgender thing. But you know what? And when it comes to like feminism and stuff, I support classical feminists, but I myself am kind of a fan of traditional gender roles. But guess what? That's me. And if you want to live differently, by all means do so. And that's what live and let live and free will is about. And if the Republican Party was actually about, the rights of the individual, if it was actually about that, it wouldn't be trying to come up with ways to penalize living your life in a way that is non-white, non-Christian, non-Republican.
Well, because they only want to leave people alone who are the same, Yeah. That's really the thing. Like, speaking here as a queer, gender non-conforming, et cetera, person, I appreciate the fact that you don't give a shit what I do in my spare time, or with my life. We can do what we do, and that's great, and that's the point, is that we can sit there and be like, you live different than me. Fine. Have a great life, man. I love you. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the point. But like, if the leave me alone only if we don't have anything to debate is the rule. Like, there can't be a but. It's like the old thing about like, no offense, but, or I'm not meaning this in a bad way, but anytime you have to add a but to it, you've already lost your high ground, right?
Yeah.
And they just consistently have, because, these folks that you're talking about that are, leave me alone. It's like, well, you're not leaving anyone else alone. So that's hypocrisy.
Yeah, but these same people, homosexuality will destroy all of civilization. First of all, who cares what somebody else does, whatever it is? I mean,
on my gay agenda, I do have smash the system like every day as a daily event.
Well, no, but I mean,
that's just my personal gay agenda.
Yeah, but I don't understand that, and nobody can ever explain how that makes sense. How what somebody else does interferes with you at all. Like, you know what I mean? What a man or woman, two women, two men, two whatever, or two any consenting adults, even groups, I don't care. Whatever they're doing on their own, how does that affect me in any way, shape, or form?
Somewhere in Wichita,
do what you will and harm none, right? It's like, if you're not hurting nobody.
Well, somewhere in Wichita right now, two men are having sex. and I'm
That
looking
sounds
around.
awesome.
I'm looking. Well, I'd rather not see or know, but that's happening, and I'm looking around my apartment right now, and guess what? All of my belongings are intact.
And
I'm
I bet
actually
they're not
healthier
on
than
your
I've.
bed, right?
They're
They
not
haven't
on my bed.
they haven't done
They
a home
haven't.
invasion or anything to
Nope.
make you see this.
No queer home invasion.
Is the space time continuum still in space over there?
The space time continuum has not been offered. The weather is actually quite nice outside. I'm thinking of going for another jog today because the weather is so nice. I mean, like life is pretty good. Even though there are men having sex in my city right now, because it doesn't affect me, and it does. Since it doesn't affect me, my shit shouldn't affect them, which means I shouldn't be telling them what to do. It's
I'm even going to
so
throw it out there
simple.
another way. Because you know what's happening right now, I bet you, in any number of places where I'm at, in my city, there are probably any number of people right now at church. Because some people go every day, right? I'm not at church because I don't go to church. It's not my thing. I was raised differently, and I live differently. But if they're at church, they didn't they didn't come into my apartment and say, I'm sorry, we're going to have our whole congregation is going to come into your apartment and hold services right now. And then I don't care that you have a radio show to do. Like, that's just what we're going to do right now. They're not doing that. They're having their worship in their space doing what they do. And that's totally fine.
Okay, now I have a problem with you for saying that, because you could be at church, but you're not. What kind of heathen are you?
An awesome one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'm a very metal one.
Okay, Three Heathens. There's a name for our show.
Yeah.
Three Heathen. Oh my God, let's start a metal band. Three Heathens.
Can my imaginary all chick metal band be the opener? Intrauterine Demolition. We're really good. I swear.
What is it
called?
called?
They're imaginary.
Intrauterine Demolition.
Holy shit, that is like one of the best names I've ever heard. That is so awesome. Like there should be a grindcore band called that.
One day, man. One day I will.
Hey, since we just kind of like we're talking about music for a second, I'm going to throw this out here because a lot of people who listen to us are into, Smash the System. There is an album I have been listening to nonstop by a hardcore band called First Blood, and it's called Rules, and it's 100% a protest album, and it's it's not really a left or right. It's just a general protest the government thing. Although there's one song where they're chanting "No justice, no peace." It's just very cool. Fuck the government shit. This band First Blood, and I've always liked this band First Blood, but this album is just, dude. It's like the breakdowns are awesome and everything, but like. Anybody looking for a good album to just fire them up if they want to smash the state, like, check it out.
And who doesn't? At least from time to time.
Yeah, and like I said, you don't have to be right or left to appreciate it. It's very just, all around, just smash the state, just fuck the government, So I'm just going to like plug it because I've been enjoying it, and it's like my little thing. I listen to it before I do a lot of my activities, just to get me in the mindset.
And full disclosure, Steve gets 15 cents a download on that album as well.
I wish, because that album's actually doing really good, But someday maybe I'll make my own album, and then I'll make money off albums.
There's the dream. Make our own crazy metal protest music. After we're done arm wrestling, can we work on the band ideas?
All right, that sounds good.
Cool.
Okay, are we off the music subject now? Let's move on to. We want to talk about people that are new to protesting and some tips and some ideas and some thoughts.
Well, for starters, they got to have a good playlist, to get pumped up. But moving on from that, yeah.
Back to the music again.
Had to do it, man. I had to do it.
So yeah, this is actually a topic that DenMom brought up that she wanted to talk about. So I'm gonna let you kick this one off. Yep.
Well, it seemed like a good follow on from last week or last month rather, because we were talking a lot about, going out and sort of like what me and my team are doing to sort of stay safe and keep people safe and all the rest of it. But we did mention there's a lot of people who just sort of suddenly have their eyes open going like, crap, I got to do some shit. Like I got to be out there and actually do some shit. But, it's challenging to get started because there's so much going on. Like, even if you've been involved, like any of us can say, like, we wake up and it's like, fuck, damage report. God, my Twitter feed is exploding. I got texts coming out of my ears. Everybody's like, did you see the thing? I'm like, no, I literally just opened one eye and what's happening today? Oh, why do I even sleep anymore? I don't even know because I can't keep up. And if you're new to even just online activism, it's going to be overwhelming, right? And if you're going out for the first time ever or the first time in 30 years, the streets are not what they used to be when it comes to protesting, right? So it just seemed to me that like we've got a really interesting group of people here with some really diverse perspectives about how to, stay safe and do your OPSEC online, how to get out there and whatever your situation may be able to beat the street and be active and not be stupid about it, because we covered a lot about people being stupid, but not about how not to be last time, Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how stressful online is. You said that I think you find it more stressful than I do.
I don't know that I find it stressful anymore, but I will say that like when I was first trying to tailor my feed to actually be informative, when I first got on Twitter years ago, it was just like the signal to noise ratio was all off, right? Because it's like it's suggesting people and you're like, I guess I'll follow them. I don't know what they're saying. And then you got all your friends and it's just like, it's just a lot and it keeps going. It's constantly refreshing with new things and trying to learn how to, make lists or moments or whatever that help keep you organized and stuff, and everybody's got their own method. But also just knowing that like anything you put out there is going to be out there forever. Like people need to remember that about any kind of social media platform, right? And Twitter is getting more serious about verifications and things like that, like Facebook has done. So, just being aware of like how do you start? I had to learn those lessons kind of the hard way because I started out just kicking around and going like, I'm just going to say what I say. And maybe that's something that I wanted to say elsewhere or privately. Crap, like being mindful that you don't overstep your knowledge when you first get started and that you tailor the information that you're getting so that you don't just get caught in your own bubble, finding other diverse perspectives. And, I try very hard to get like international news in by different means. So it's not just all Trumpity Trump right now because the US stuff is so heavily on that one topic and you miss huge swaths of things. So you have to find a way to keep your interests and the things that you want to be active in at the forefront of your feed by how you engage with the media.
Yeah, I know some people, they're more sensitive. I don't really care. I say whatever the hell I want, and if they want to say something, screw them. But I know some people are more sensitive, and the bullying and harassment and stuff can really get to them and cause them to harm themselves sometimes and stuff. So that's something people need to be aware of, I guess. Just if you can't take extreme harsh criticism and then sometimes bullying, because that's going to happen at times, then maybe you should watch what you put out there. But then some people,
especially when it comes to hashtags, because there's certain trolls who will just follow along, looking for certain hashtags, and they'll just come hammering at people who've dropped a thing. So, like, this is really common in Black Lives. You put a certain person's hashtag, and there'll be a whole troll army just waiting to see that person's name pop up so they can dive on people and just ruin their days. And if you're not ready for that and you just want to be a supporter, like, your day will get ruined.
Yeah, I remember when we did Kervin's show a while, or I did Kervin's show. You were already there. It was a Kendrick Johnson show, and then he was like shocked, like, how come as soon as I put this hashtag, these jackasses just start coming after me? Like,
oh my god, yeah. And to get ready for that show, actually, my former co-producer actually ran an experiment, just like threw out every kind of thing, like picture of Fuzzy Bunny, hashtag Kendrick Johnson. People dive on it. My absolute favorite was there was this sock account of one troll at the time who was like typing in all caps, shouty man thing, like I am doing a rah, rah, rah. And at one point she goes out and just does a fucking keyboard mash, just like blah, 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 hashtag Kendrick Johnson, and he comes back all caps, why are you making fun of the disabled? I only have 3 fingers.
What?
It was amazing. It was the greatest. Because he was getting just so flustered. I mean, I assume it was a man. I don't know. But it was just the most ridiculous thing. Is like, okay, victim complex is real in the troll community. Yeah. I only have to. So yeah, whenever I get really distressed anymore or need to make a certain person laugh, I just shout, why are you being so mean? I only have 3 fingers. Yeah. Really lightens the mood.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I don't know what advice I'd give people going out for the first time. I mean, I would say watch your back and don't just trust people. And we've talked about how to secure your phone before. Know that everything you do is probably on camera somewhere from a building or people around there. If you plan on doing something where your face needs to be covered, then maybe your face needs to be covered from the time you get there until the time you're gone from there. Before you get there to past the time that you're gone. So
yeah, that ain't gonna help me though.
I'm gonna throw out there too, like if you're the kind of person who doesn't want to have their face covered and wants to carry a sign, make sure it's legible. Like if you don't have good handwriting, get a friend to do it or get it printed, because like if you're trying to get a message out there and you're walking through a crowd, people are gonna miss your message if it's poorly written. And I know that sounds silly, but people want to be heard. That's part of going to a protest, right?
And do it kind of big so people can see it from a distance too.
Exactly. Or capture it on camera while you're moving. Like a good photographer will catch it, but if it's still fuzzy, it's no good, And
keep your signs simple.
Yeah, really bold with high contrast, I guess. Bold writing with high contrast is best, I think.
Yeah. I think, a big thing is just sort of like being prepared for any eventuality, because any protest can be calm, anyone can go off the rails. So like, as you know, I'm a firm believer in bringing at least one trusted friend that, will watch your back for you and you watch theirs. I believe in dressing in layers. I believe in making sure you bring water and snack bars and things like that. If you think, I always go out with extra bandanas and white vinegar and, the Maalox mix and the whole thing, because you don't know what's going to happen. And I have a backpack that's just my protest bag. It's a protest in a bag,
And that's actually like really good, and a lot of people don't prepare that way.
Battery backups for your phone. They're cheap. Get one.
Oh yeah. People also need to prepare mentally for anything that might happen. I mean, the samurai have a saying, the samurai meditates on death every day. And the reason why is so that he's unafraid when he's put in those situations. That's why the samurai did that. And, you need to think about, I mean, especially with, cops are getting bolder with their whole violence at protests and violent suppression of protest things. You need to think about tear gas, and you need to think about mace, and you need to think about arrests, so that when they start lining up in their stormtrooper armor looking all menacing, you're not psyched out and thrown off balance.
Well, and that comes to another point too. Like if you're going out, especially if you're going to be in an unfamiliar city, knowing I'm a big fan of having an actual printed map of the area that I'm going to be in, at least, if not the whole city, because that way, if your phone goes down or whatever, you have a way to egress. But also, like making yourself familiar with the culture and the police culture of that area. Know what the different badges look like. Know how they tend to roll out. What do their vehicles look like? Are they prone to unmarked with tinted, or are they going to mostly be in metro vehicles? Whatever. Especially in the largest cities, there's multiple different police forces. We're going to have, regular metro. You're going to have park police. In most cases these days, you're going to see some federal something or other. And not all of them are as obvious as others, and if you can't recognize a badge from a good 50 feet away by its shape, you might not know who you're facing.
Absolutely true. You're right. Different law enforcement agencies have different methods and different ways of doing things. They're run by different people with different personalities. You know, so
their
like
rules
you
of
might
engagement
see,
are completely different. An arrest by them can be completely different. Yeah.
yeah, you know, so you see two cops or two agents from different agencies, you know, like, yeah, the one over there might treat you very differently from the one over there. And, you know, one should be watched maybe more than the other and paid attention to more than the other. And, you know, yeah, it's good to know those things. I'm really glad you brought that up.
I also think, you know, but this goes back to what you were saying last time about, you know, St. Paul principles and all that kind of stuff, in the sense of, like, not just knowing about the law enforcement situation, but also who is likely to be out, what organizations or individuals are likely to be out in what capacity at a given event is important, you know, and do they have identifying attire or a style that they're going to be, you know, like anybody can recognize Black Bloc because that's, you know, kind of their thing of obscuring themselves and looking a certain way. But other places you'll have, you know, the community leadership that's the clergy, or other places you're going to have other organizations that have sponsored a given thing because that they're on that mission about that topic. And so knowing what is the sort of temperature of the room that you're stepping into, and who's organized it, and what is the expected behavior of these people that you should accommodate or step away from according to your desire for that day, that's also very important.
Yeah.
I would say too on that, also look for, you know, kind of figure out who the main organizers are and who you expect to see kind of, you know, on the megaphones and coming, and, you know, who you expect to have the plan. And because if you suddenly see different people, you know, saying, hey, let's do this, you're looking at one of two things. You're either looking at somebody who is coming to somebody else's protest and throwing wrenches in the plan, which is very irresponsible, or you're looking at some kind of, you know, infiltrator who, or possibly an agitator who's trying to lead you into doing something illegal because the cops sent them there to get that going so that they can justify coming in and fucking everybody up.
Or even maybe not the cops, but just, you know, an opposition group, you know, because we do have, again, like the trolls exist in real life, and there's the militias and all the rest of it. They've been known to show up under one guise, but with a totally different intent. These are things that do happen, absolutely. And it does pay to be aware of what that could look like, you know, and knowing what else to recognize, like what does a legal observer look like, or, you know, having your right phone numbers for that area. What's the NLG line in that city? What's the ACLU app or line in that city? Having that all pre-staged is important. I'm a big fan with the map thing too, of going like, here's where optimally like things are going to be happening. So here's where I plan to go more or less, but I'm going to go with the flow. But if things go a little haywire, here's a backup staging point. If we lose each other, we're going to rally there. If things get really bad, here's a place a little further away that is the safe zone. You know, like making that plan with the people you're going with so that you have a way, if cells go down, if things are just crazy, that you can rally with the people that you came with, because if nobody else, you're responsible for your team.
But it sucks that in this country we have to plan to exert our First Amendment rights as if we were committing a crime, and plan a getaway route, plan to change clothes, maybe plan to have to escape and run. It's really sick, but I think also,
it is sad when you're sitting there going like, oh, is this jacket reversible, or do I have different glasses, or whatever people are doing. It's horrible that you have to do it, but it's important to do it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think experience, though, can't be beat, because like the more they're out there doing it, the more somebody deals with stuff, the more they learn and hopefully teach others, you know, and give others the benefit from their experience as well. But yeah, experience.
And I think that really is a huge lesson.
Yeah,
right there. Find someone with experience. Find an organization with experience and join up with them. You know, don't just necessarily go out freewheeling and hoping it's all going to be fine, because chances are it won't be if that's how you act.
Yeah, it also depends on the protest and who's doing it, like we said before.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't be scared. I mean, just education and go out there and do your thing. I would never discourage anyone from protesting or doing what they want to do to make a better world, or make things better for people around where they're at.
I go a step with that. Is like, you know what? If you're scared, do it anyway. But acknowledge your fear. Figure out what's the source of your fear. Are you scared because you've had a bad experience with the police and you don't want to have another one? Are you scared because you've just never done this before? Why are you scared? How can that be addressed so that you can function out in that world? How can you protect yourself if your fear becomes too much to manage and you might become a liability to yourself or others? If you're scared, still do it, but just acknowledge it and process that fear, that anxiety in a functional, constructive way. Don't let it stop you. Work it. Work with it. Sometimes use it. Use your fear as a motivator. Like, I'm scared to go out, but I'm more scared about what happens if I don't. I'm more scared to not be a part of this because we're all going to die if I don't go out there and make myself known. Like, rechannel that anxiety, that fear into motivation if you can. Recontextualize that.
Yeah. Just do what you can. Like we've talked about before on other shows, that there's people that are disabled that literally can't leave the house, and there's people who shouldn't leave the house maybe, or that are sick, or do what you can from wherever you can from your point of view. If if all you can do is help and do things sitting at home on your computer, that's fine. If you can call people and do things like that, that's fine. Whatever you can do. If you can get out there, that's great too, and that's needed more than ever right now. But just
jail support is a huge thing.
Yeah, there's so many things you guys can get involved in. Not you guys, but the people listening. And just do what you can and be safe whatever you do. Because nowadays online activism can get you more jail time than stuff in the streets a lot of times.
That's actually really true. I mean, that's why the Marty Party. That's why Matt DeHart, right? Like,
yeah.
And sometimes that's the thing too. Is like, whatever you're doing, it's sometimes it's necessary to do whatever we do, no matter the cost. But be risk aware and know what you're stepping into, what you might be buying into as the end result consequence of your actions. Because then, once you know what it is, there's less to be scared of because you've already accepted that risk. And
exactly.
I would say too that when you do that calculation, it's a daily thing. Like, again, I'm a disabled person myself. Some days I can't go out and beat the street. Some days I got to do it from bed. Some days whatever. And sometimes that's physical. Sometimes that's mental. You got to establish, am I in a right place today to go out and function in a street environment, or am I going to be a liability, or am I going to just not be useful? How can I be better useful in my current state? So if your fear or your health or your whatever is going to prevent you from going out there, then find somebody who is going out there and find a way that you can support that person. Or find a way to get us a part of a tweet storm or something else where you can literally do it from your bed. And, if you're in a city that has, open channels on police scanners, download scanner radio and cue in and try to establish, are they sending out real information or misinformation? Let people know, The more you listen, the more you figure out what's the tone of that. And that takes practice just like anything else, but it can be done. There's so many ways to be involved. And it takes a little education and a little practice, and we're all going to make mistakes. But if you know that in advance, then you learn from it.
Yeah, I fully agree.
Hopefully you don't have to pay too hard for it.
Well said.
Yeah, and like you said before, make sure you know what the repercussions could be for your actions, and you're cool with them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And set up whatever you need to do. If you think you might get detained or arrested, make sure you got somebody's number on you that you can call and let them know, hey, I've been detained or arrested. So about that bail, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, once you know that possible outcome, make a preparation. Because the more prepared you are in Murphy's Law, the less you're going to need to worry about using it.
Yeah, exactly. Any thoughts on this, Steve?
What's that?
So any thoughts on this before we move on?
No, not really. I kind of said my piece. And you guys covered so much good stuff on that. So I'm good.
So
Well, we know you're good.
You're awesome, little guy.
Oh, stop. Okay, keep going.
Yeah.
He's the best, and we love him.
Oh, my God. Moving on.
Yeah.
You're not going to tell me a story?
No, anyway.
So, yeah, we went through pretty much all the subjects. Anything we missed or you guys want to go over?
Let's see if I'm missing anything. I mean, that obviously that last thing, that's my passion. So, like, I could go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. But I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I know, I got another.
But Julie, I will say, if anybody has further questions on that preparedness issue, things like that, at Team DenMom, our DMs are open. Get in touch. We'll put you in touch with whoever we can put you in touch with or answer your questions if we have the answers ourselves. We don't know everything, but we know a lot of people who know a lot more than us, and we'll always do our best to help folks. So, nothing can be covered in this amount of time, not the politics, not the social concepts, not the activism, but that's what networking and social media is really good for, right?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
You know what? I forgot. I should probably say this from Gear of Top Gear Live on a non-UK radio. She started a Twitter account called @DrumpPostcards. That's @DRUMPF Postcards, all one word. And yeah, I highly recommend you guys follow that and get involved. What they do is, I guess the White House comment lines have been disabled. So what they're doing is they're sending really simple postcards and letters in, about issues they care about. And I guess if you go to their Twitter account at Drump Postcards for Drump, it says, then you can get more information about it. And it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. Well, and it should be noted that the postcards, I think, is the important word there, because people can always choose not to open mail. A sealed letter is a sealed letter, and a lot of people that we've spoken to on my team have been finding even that their mail has been returned to their home. So, incidentally, there are lots and lots of lists out there at this point of all the addresses of Trump properties throughout the country and the world, so you can always put that as your return address if you really wanted to. I'm not saying you should, but I'm saying you could. And the other thing
I think they might be doing just that. They're doing it in like a series of a sequence, different letters or different postcards going to different places at different times.
Right, but that's the whole thing with the postcard. Is a postcard is an unsealed object, so your message is right there on one or both faces of it, so there's no opening, there's no possibility they're going to be like, oh, it might have a suspicious contents or something like that. It's a piece of paper with a message on it. And so a postcard has a lot greater chance of seeing the light of day and getting in front of somebody's face than a letter or a package of any kind is ever going to do.
Yeah, I agree. So cool. If nobody has anything else, I guess we could just wrap the show up. We had a cool short one today, which is awesome.
Not so short, but yeah, shorter.
A little shorter than our usual 2-hour rants.
Well, I mean, we could always go back to shouting about Nazis. We never get tired of that. But
yeah.
Or where Steve and I can plan our metal band.
Sorry, what? I didn't hear what you said.
We could plan our metal band. We could, we could start coming up with song titles.
Yeah.
Cool. Maybe we'll save that for later.
Yeah, that's the next show. You don't want to go ahead.
Timmy, did you want to mention you had that really solid idea for an upcoming show series besides the 14 Tenets of Fascism, which we're definitely going to work on that mini-series. But I think that some people might be interested in that other idea that we were discussing the other night, which is still in development, obviously, but you don't have to. It just occurred to me.
I don't the 14
Scarlet
Tenets.
Letter?
The what? Hello?
Scarlet Letter.
Oh yeah, that's a show we're slowly working on called The Scarlet Letter. It's just a show all about anarchy. We're working on getting some cool hosts for it, but yeah, that's a little ways off.
I know.
Before that, we're gonna have, like we mentioned before, which is a series of shows about the 14 tenets of fascism as related to the United States. So we'll be talking about each one or two in each episode of the show, and we're going to go into detail and, explain them and explain how they're relevant now and how the U.S. not only is but has been heading toward fascism. Under previous administrations, long before Trump is just the blatant one that everyone is like, wow, now it's here. But yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. We're trying to get some good guests to come on who are very knowledgeable people to talk about it, that know more than I do, certainly. But it should be cool when it comes together. We're hoping to have it maybe starting in the next month and a half. And that's separate from the Scarlet Letter. That's a different show.
The only reason I brought that up is that I personally find that to be a very exciting topic because, a lot of people have misconceptions, not just about fascism, which that's going to be fascinating, but about what is the core of, what is the heart of anarchy, So, you mentioned that. I got really excited, even though I know it's kind of a ways off, just the notion of being able to sort of debunk a lot of that and bring some good information to people about just freedom and love and not actually just, breaking crap, though that is sometimes fun.
Yeah, I mean,
that is a show that really needs to happen. You guys have to do that.
Oh, we'll see to it.
We're working on it. That one's been in a while. We had a host we were going to use, and then they kind of backed out of it, and that's why it's been on delay now. But yeah, hopefully what it will be is more like philosophy kind of things, to explain what an anarchist believes, because different kinds of anarchists believe different things. So we'll probably on that show have different guests who are different kinds of anarchists who believe different things. To kind of just let the public know what anarchists believe and what they, who they are, because like you said, people just think Molotov cocktails and blowing things up and bashing windows. And that's Antifa, and that's part of it maybe in some people, but some anarchists don't believe in violence at all. And
yeah, I mean, there's the whole seriously eco-vegan contingent of super peaceful anarchism.
Yeah, some lean.
I think this is why I'm so excited about this. Is that I was surprised to discover that technically I was an anarchist. Back when that first happened, because it was I just thought I was super crazy pro every kind of choice civil libertarian person, but no, actually, if you really get down to the philosophy of it, it's a form of anarchy. And I think people might be surprised. The number of people who might tune into that show and discover that they are in fact able to claim that label might be very fascinating and surprising. So I don't know. I'm just very excited about that possibility of that show being on people's radio because, I love the station, man, and I just think that show could be a real asset. So I just had to throw that out there so people can look forward to something else. Cool.
Wow, one person loves our station. It's official. We're awesome now. No, yeah. I mean, I think if it works out and we get it up with the good host, I think it'll be a good show. But yeah, like I said, it's a little while away because we're still working on it. We want to do it the right way if we do it, not just rush it. Hopefully. We have my non-objective for a rushed show with no planning. We have my non-objective opinion already.
And there's always this: the ranting, the raving, the arm wrestling challenges.
Yeah, this is just
show for all the chaos and silliness.
Yeah, this show I like because it's less structured than my non-objective opinion even. So for me, that's awesome.
Yeah.
This is really just like a conference call of us just being so anyway, how's your day? Yeah, smash the system. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. And occasionally me raising my voice about Nazis.
Yeah, but on that note, not the Nazi thing. I was behind. I didn't even hear you say that till I already said on that note. But yeah, I want to encourage people to go to peoplesradiounited.com and click on the People's Voice and send in messages and information you guys want out. I mean, this is your radio station too. You can do that. And like the other day, I had actually my next guest for next week on My Non-Objective Opinion contacted me. Is like, what does someone have to do to get on your show? And I'm like, you're an activist. It's a show for activists. Just say I want to be on the show. And that go, that's just, we're here for the people. You guys get involved. If you have something to say, you have a guest you want on here, or if you know people who want to maybe host a show, let us know. Just hit us up on at People's Radio with instead of it's a 0 at the end on Twitter, or peoplesradiounited.com. You can find different ways to contact us there. But yeah, I mean, we want this to be People's Radio United for real. We want you guys to have your voice heard however you want to do it. So don't be shy. Don't be hesitant. This is here for you guys. That's why we're here.
You might want to mention again the People's Voice thing too, Tim.
Yeah.
Oh, did I not? I thought I did. Okay, the People's...
You mentioned it, but it could be explained.
Yeah, the People's Voice is a show... Well, it's not even a show. It's a venue we have where you can send in recorded messages. There are some guidelines and rules, just kind of really obvious things like no hate speech, no slandering other activists and stuff like that. But you can send in a message or even do a whole one-off show. We've had messages from Op Serena Shim, Op Stop Suicide, WIDA Coalition. We've only had a few so far. Op Safe Winter. But yeah, some of them are well produced, and other ones are just people talking, and it's really awesome to hear their passion and their voice for what their cause is. So
and where can the people find this magical thing, oh mighty Tim?
PeoplesRadioUnited.com, and there's a tab up on navigation for the People's Voice. You click that, and you can go right there, and then just follow instructions to send in your audio. And if you have something that we're working on as far as like an op or whatever, even if we're not, if it's a cause that we believe in and we have time, we'll definitely help you try to get it recorded as well if you need help with that. There are a couple tips on recording, but we can give you more. We can do what we can. We want to get your voices heard. That's what we're here for.
That's awesome, man.
I'm tired of hearing my voice all the time. That's why I need other people to come in and do this. But yeah, we're here for you guys, everyone listening. So,
well, and I'm just going to get back up here real fast before we wrap up and remind folks, speaking of ways they can stay involved and have a voice about some important stuff. Let's not forget that tomorrow, 4 to 10, Marty Party, #FreeMartyG for more info on that. Do your dares, pledge on some folks, get some silly crap going on, for a good cause. It's going to be awesome. And then in 2 days, on Sunday, we're going to have the Matt DeHart Twitter storm and #FreeMattDeHart for all related stuff to do with that Twitter storm.
In the description.
Maybe help him and his mom out.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, in the description for this episode right here, both on Spreaker and YouTube, we'll have links for both of those events. I know there's a link to go to the chat for the Marty Party, and there's also a link for a PasteBin for the Free Matt DeHart tweet storm. So we'll have both of those there. So just check out the description, and it'll make it real easy for you guys to connect with both of those things going on tomorrow and the next day, the Saturday and Sunday. So cool. Anything else, you guys?
I've said everything I need to say, so I'm ready to wrap it up. And
I feel like I've done the same, as usual. Like I'm happy to have been on the show, man. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the outlet, again, at Team DenMom. If you want to get in touch with us or me directly, that's a great way to do it and get some news and find ways to be active. Make sure you take Tim's advice, because everybody should have their voice. This station is a wonderful thing. I believe in the power of the people. I couldn't do it without both of you and everyone out there listening and everybody out there who's going to listen later. I mean, this is the movement, And that's what keeps us going. It's what keeps me waking up in the morning. So just thanks for everything you're doing, Tim, and thanks for having me.
Well, yeah, I know I speak for me and Steve probably. We appreciate you agreeing to come on this show with us 2 times now.
Oh, yes.
It's really awesome. I mean, you add a whole nother voice to it that's just different from... Me and Steve we believe the same thing in different ways, and you're kind of like a cool middle ground to have in there, and this is really awesome. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, man. Both of you.
No problem. Okay.
I love you guys so much. It just warms my black little heart.
We love you too, DenMom.
Definitely.
Yay. Bear
right.
hugs.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and bring in the outro music and tell everybody thank you for listening to peoplesradio.com monthly show. See you guys next month on this show and next week on our other shows.